Assalamu alaikum. Hello, viewers. Today we'll talk about the types of foreign policy, also levels of analysis in foreign policy, and approaches in foreign policy, as well as the models of foreign policy. So, first, let's have a look on types of foreign policy. Basically, there are four types of foreign policy. One that's called consensus oriented foreign policy. The second one is compliant foreign policy. Third one is counter dependent foreign policy. And the fourth one is compensation foreign policy. The first consensus oriented foreign policy. It is when a small state want to align itself with a powerful state, of course, for the purpose to get some advantage, some aid, and also security. That is called consensus oriented foreign policy. Example, when Pakistan joined the US alliance in 1950s by signing two multilateral agreements, SEATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization, 1954, CENTO, which was called Baghdad Pact in 1955, Central Treaty Organization. Later on, it was renamed as CENTO in 1959 when Iraq withdrew from this agreement. And two bilateral agreements between the United States and Pakistan signed. So these four agreements, it is an example of consensus-oriented foreign policy when Pakistan voluntarily joined the US camp. Second, that is the compliant foreign policy when a small state align itself with a more powerful state, not voluntarily, but a powerful state pressurize a small state to align with itself. That is called compliant foreign policy. Example is Pakistan-US commitment in the war on terror when US pressurized Pakistan after the 9/11 attacks to join the US camp and start this war on terror. The third type of foreign policy, that is the counter-dependent foreign policy, when a small state want to withdraw itself from the powerful state alliance in order to minimize or even to finish the dependence on the powerful state, then that is called counter-dependent foreign policy. Example, when John F. Kennedy came into power in the US as a president, and after that, Lyndon B. Johnson. So Pakistan-US relationship was not good. It turned into a worse one. That's why Pakistan looked for another option. Pakistan started bilateralism in its foreign policy when Pakistan became closer to People's Republic of China and also to Soviet Union. And especially after the 1965 Indo-Pakistan War, so then Pakistan minimized and almost finished its dependence on the US. The fourth type of foreign policy is compensation foreign policy. In this type, a small state want to appease, to make its public happy while having rivalry with a powerful state. The example is 1982 war between Argentina and Britain when the Argentinian leader decided to have invasion on the Malvinas Islands, but Britain responded with a mighty force. Now we can discuss levels of analysis. There are three levels of analysis for research. One is individual level of analysis, then is state level of analysis, and the third is system level of analysis. In the first one, individual level of analysis, there is focus of researchers on the individual, on a leader, on a responsible person. So his beliefs, his training, his education, his personality, his decisions, all things matter. So the sole purpose and the sole focus of a researcher, that is on the individual. The second type of analysis, that is the state level of analysis. So when a researcher wants to do research, he or she will look for all the elements inside the boundaries of a state. I mean the bureaucracy, organizations, the government, form of the government, presidential system, parliamentary system, ethnicity, geography, culture, history, science and technology, and so many other things. Then if he or she do research, that will be based on the state level of analysis. The third level of analysis, that is the system level of analysis. That is beyond the boundaries of the state, an international system, an international politics. What kind of configuration of power is there? What kind of polarity is there in international system? What kind of international organizations are there? What is their role? All these things depend and it affects a state's foreign policy. So that's why a researcher will look for the explanation and the system level of analysis. We have examples, and all these uh, examples, these analysis, it also shows us some more explanation about the precipitating cause, intermediate cause, and the deep cause. So first, look for the examples of this state, system, and individual level of analysis. Some researchers, if they want to do research that why Pakistan joined war on terror, that was if he or she thinks because of General Musharraf, he was a powerful man at that time in Pakistan. So his or her research will be based on the individual level of analysis. Another researcher will come and he or she will say that no, there was political unrest in Pakistan, there was no democracy, pure democracy here in Pakistan. So that's why it was very easy for international powers to exploit the situation of Pakistan. That's why Pakistan joined war on terror. The third researcher will come and he or she will focus his research on the system level of analysis, that there was cry of the day that war on terror started. So that's why all states they joined, almost the United States. So Pakistan also had to join this war on terror. Now we look for the three causes. One, the intermediate cause. Second, the precipitating cause, and third, that is the deep cause. When World War One had to start, that time there was an assassination of the Archduke of Austro-Hungarian Empire, who was heir to the throne of Austro-Hungary. His name was Franz Ferdinand. He was killed in 1914 at Sarajevo, the today's capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So then protests started, more killings started, violence started. So that was the most immediate, the precipitating cause of the World War One. Second, if you look to that time, Austro-Hungarian Empire, there was political unrest. People were not happy over there. So that is the intermediate cause of the World War One. The third, the whole Europe was changing. New powers, they were coming, and even there was decline of the balance of power, which was there since the concert of Europe since 1815, that was also on declining. So that is the deep cause of the World War One. Some leaders, they want to grab opportunity. So when Saddam Hussein wanted to have invasion on Kuwait, he was thinking that United States and the Western European powers, they were busy, and Central Asian republics who were to be democratic, and also Eastern Europe, that socialist regimes, they were on declining. So that's why he invaded Kuwait. So this grabbing of opportunity in foreign policy, that's also very much important. Now let's have a look on the models of foreign policy. There are basically three models of foreign policy. One is rational actor model, another is organizational process model, and the third one is bureaucratic politics model. So the first one, rational actor model, where we take state as a whole in short words. For example, we say US imposed sanctions on Iraq. We say United States imposed economic sanctions on North Korea. So here we take state as a whole in short words. Of course, there is more explanation. The second one, that is the organizational process model. We consider state as a collection of organizations, various ministries, departments, think tanks, and all this bureaucracy. So here we say that organizations, departments, ministries, they have their role, advisors, and formulation of foreign policy. Third, that is the bureaucracy. In bureaucracy, we say that state that is a collection of bureaucrats, of advisors. So president or prime minister, they have their advisors. They rely on bureaucracy. In bureaucracy, there are then two kinds of trends. One that is vertical, that is based on the placement of bureaucrats, and second that is based on horizontal direction, that is the role of the bureaucrats. So this bureaucracy, there is also competition among the bureaucracies, and this competition, it gives rise to excellence on the one hand and conflict on the other hand. There are also three approaches in foreign policy related with bureaucracy. One is formalistic approach, that is a linear approach, that is top down and down to top approach. There is a direct contact between the boss and the subordinate, that is the most adopted approach in the governments of the world. So but this is a bit lazy approach. There is a great chance for the distortion of information, and boss is solely dependent in most of the cases on its next subordinate. The second one, that is the competitive approach. In competitive approach, there is competition among bureaucracies. So in this competition, of course, it gives rise to excellence on the one hand, but there is also rivalry, jealousy among bureaucracy. Yes, sometimes possible for the boss to contact and to rely on other sources if one ministry or department or organization is not working, but it is not for all the times. The third, it is faster than the formalistic approach, and there are less chances of distortion of information in this approach. The third approach, that is the collegial approach, and this collegial approach, this is the random process. Any boss can contact with any of its subordinate. It's not in linear direction. So this is the most expensive approach of the foreign policy. That's why states, they are not in a position to every time just to rely on this approach. So viewers, today we talked about the basic four types of foreign policy. Also, we talked about the levels of analysis: individual, state level, and the system level of analysis. And we talked about the three models of foreign policy shortly: rational actor model, organizational process model, and bureaucratic politics model. And alongside, we also discussed three approaches within the bureaucracy to study foreign policy, that is the formalistic approach, competitive approach, and collegial approach. Take care, viewers.